Welcome, welcome, welcome to Joe Knows South Lake. Okay, today is a little bit of a different episode. Normally, we're going to be live at 10 a.m. And when we go live, we'll have guests. I'll have people, but today is a little bit of a test run. We're testing our equipment. We're testing our voices. We're testing our ability to switch back and forth. We're going to do a few things a little differently than we normally do. I want to thank you right now for joining us and helping us out. So, some of what we're going to talk about today. We're actually going to talk with Labor Day coming up. We're going to talk about the difference. Oops. I guess I have to mute that, huh? I guess I can't put the YouTube on my phone when I'm recording because it will create an echo. I don't know what that sounded like.
Joe, you just wanted to watch yourself, Joe.
I do. Well, we all know I have a big ego and a big head to go with it. So we're going to talk about today, Labor Day. Labor Day is coming up. And so Jay actually, hey, say hello, Jay. Don't just criticize me.
Hold on. Hello, Jay.
Little Gracie Allen reference there.
Yeah.
For those of you old enough to know or wise enough to know who Gracie Allen is, look it up on Google. At any rate, we're going to talk about the difference today between Labor Day and Memorial Day. So many Americans, especially in today's world, miss the difference between these two. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk to my dear, dear friend, John C. Donahue, life coach, best friend, my champion. And I'm actually going to explain what a champion is when we get to talking to John. And let me see, what else are we going to do today? Well, hopefully everything works correctly. I think it will. We've spent several days, actually several weeks now, getting to this place. As Jay said earlier, it's all fun and games until you go live. Then it's real.
That's right.
You should see this guy, the look on this guy's face. He's got a smile ear to ear. He's happy we've gotten to this point.
It's been a work in progress. We've had to test and retest and test again and retest and test again. So we're not there yet. We still got some more things to test, but we're getting there, Joe. We're getting there.
We are getting there. That is actually why we're doing this test. We're having, this is an episode. It's not our standard episode. It's on a lot later than it would normally be on.
Tell the folks when we will normally be on, Joe.
Well, we will normally be on 10 a.m. to in the beginning, 10 a.m. to 10:35, 10:40. We have an hour to play with. The goal.
I'll let you guys know right now. I told Joe it would be 10 to 10:30. Joe's already adding 5-10 minutes on. Well, I told him we would grow into an hour. We'll grow, Joe. Let us get to it. And he's already this is the test. He's already added 15 minutes.
I got to have time for McDonald's and Burger King and Coca-Cola and Pepsi. And
he's actually just naming our sponsors.
That's right. They're going to be our sponsors someday. Actually, speaking of sponsors, I want to thank Mary Rhodes of the mortgage firm. She is the first sponsor to come on. I really, really appreciate it. Mary has been a champion of mine for many, many years, and I've been a champion of hers. And I just want to say the Lord is doing great things in my life because of her. He's doing great things in her life, and you're going to see a whole lot more of Mary. As a matter of fact, our first official day, our big grand opening, we've got it all down and everything dialed in is September 23rd, and Mary will actually be a guest that week. So I want to say thank you. We'll be right back.
Oh, no, that was actually, I was mentioning the ribbon cutting.
Oh, the ribbon cutting. I'm sorry.
We're still working on hand signals.
Our hand signals are coming together. So we're going to have a ribbon cutting that day, and we'll bring out a whole bunch of guests. You can join us that day. We're still working out the timing of that, so we know it'll be that day and that week. We do have some guests later in the week. I'm really looking forward to speaking tomorrow to Otis Taylor of the Give a Day Foundation. I have a total mind blank. I'm bringing out the...
Our phone's ringing.
Our phone's ringing.
We'll have to get to we'll have to get to that during the break.
That's some tech that we've got to figure out how to deal with that.
That's the live studio
feed,
so we'll answer that in a second.
That's it. But Otis is on tomorrow, and I really encourage you to tune in at 10 o'clock because we will be live at 10 tomorrow to interview him. Give It A Foundation is really, really cool, but I won't steal any of his thunder. Let me see. What else do we want to talk about in the preview? Oh, do we want to talk about the news? A little bit about the news? The thing I want to hit about the news today is you may not understand what today is. Today is Just Because. That's right. Today is National Just Because Day. And on Just Because Day, you can do anything you want. And the reason is just because. If you're on a diet and you want to go eat a donut, and people say, why did you do that? Today you can say, just because. If you feel...
Shahanaz is calling.
Oh, all right, so, cool.
Hey.
Shahanaz, tune in. That's probably about our ribbon cutting. Yes. So that's really, really cool. So if you want to conquer the world today, people say, why did you do that? You can say, well, just because. It was Just Because Day. So I thought I would I would get in my spaceship and conquer the universe. So what is it that you want to do just because? Frankly, we're doing this today, not just because we want to have a good show. What am I going to do just because? I don't know. And we'll see. I have a little bit of quiet time later this afternoon. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting in a builder's model up at Palisades up in Mineola. You can come up and meet with me there, shake hands. We can have a cup of coffee. I can show you around the model. Or we can just chew the fat. Tuesday afternoons are not as busy as you'd like them, but it's a beautiful, beautiful home, and I'd love to come out. Might actually be a location for one of our Kitchen for Sale segments. So
could you explain Kitchen for Sale?
You can. Cooking show, but here's the thing. In my experience as a realtor, because I like to cook, when I go into a new house, what makes me drool is actually the kitchens. The kitchens, or what makes me cringe is the kitchens. And a lot of these kitchens I would love to cook in. And it occurred to me that I probably could. So that's actually the genesis of Kitchen for Sale. So what Kitchen for Sale is going to be a 5-minute section, a little segment that I cook a dish, maybe give some cooking tips, stuff I picked up in my years in the restaurant business, but I'm going to do it in a kitchen of a house that's for sale. And we will feature the kitchen, its function, its benefits, what you can see from the kitchen. You want to see the rest of the house? Well, you're going to have to call Joe up and schedule an appointment. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And with that said, we're going to go to our sponsors and take a commercial break. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you in a few. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed those ads. Yes, we are testing today. So you didn't actually have ads today. You will have them, though. And once again, because we didn't have the ads, I want to remind you, Mary Rhodes of the mortgage firm, an absolutely outstanding mortgage broker. I've been using her for literally years. I mean, almost a decade. So she has grown by herself, her business. And again, you'll hear more about Mary and from Mary as time goes on. And I just want to thank her for being one of the sponsors. If you're interested in being a sponsor in the beginning now, you can get a great value on advertising and on sponsoring the show that you might not be able to get when we're really, really popular. We have 10, 15,000 people watching every day. So please, if you're interested, give me a call. Reach out to us at southlake.tv, onejoeknows@gmail.com. I'll respond to you as soon as I get the message. So, with that said, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about the difference between Memorial Day and Labor Day. You know, a lot of people don't realize that there is a difference. You know, for most Americans today, I saw this this survey yesterday about they take this survey like every 20 years, and the last time they took it was in 1998, so they took it as 2018, and the survey was about the things that Americans find important. I was actually at a men's prayer group last night, and we talked briefly about this. For instance, one of the things Americans find less important is the flag, that they just don't place it on a high priority in their life. And the real scary part about this is that it's 15 points lower than it was 20 years ago. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, and I could expound on that for hours, but I won't. What it means, though, is people don't understand many times the difference between Labor Day and Memorial Day. Did you know, since we're moving into it, Labor Day started actually as an assembly of the Knights of Columbus, and has it to honor workers in New York City, and it has come to represent as labor unions and trade unions, workers unions have expanded and have taken hold in this country, especially since a lot of the labor movement in the early part of the 20th century was very costly, and in the late 19th century was very costly. People spent their lives for workers to have the rights that they have today. You know, a lot of people don't realize that you know, when they built things like the Hoover Dam and the Brooklyn Bridge, casualties were considered a part of it. To change working conditions, they had strikes. Now, I'm not a big union guy. I'll be totally honest with you. But I do understand that there was a time that they were needed. You know, there was a time that, you know, the idea of having ventilation in a restaurant or not having 10-year-olds sewing garments was important. And it's hard for us to imagine. You know, we live on an 8-hour day and whine that we do that. But there was a time that if you were going to keep your job, you were going to work as long as the boss said you were going to work. That's what Labor Day is about. Labor Day is to honor the people who struggled to allow America to have a strong, safe workforce. Memorial Day is different. Memorial Day, typically at the beginning, you know, which for many of us marks the beginning of the summer, was a day set aside originally to remember the veterans and the people who lost their lives, well, particularly the people who lost their lives during the Civil War. It wasn't even codified as a national holiday until after World War I. And so many young men died from this country in World War I that what had become Memorial Day as sporadic celebrations at the beginning of the summer, at the end of spring in different states around the country was codified to be a day of prayer and fasting and remembrance. As a matter of fact, so was Labor Day, was a day of prayer and remembrance and fasting. We used to have parades to remember these people. It's what a labor parade was all about. It's what the Knights of Columbus parade was all about. It's what the parades on the 4th of July and on Memorial Day were all about. It was to remember those who had served and who had died. It's hard today to see, it breaks my heart when I see they do these on-the-street interviews, and you get people in their 20s, 30s that can't tell you who the Axis powers were in World War II. Or they don't know the difference between who the president was during the Civil War or the Revolutionary War. They can't even tell you what those wars were fought over. And that's a shame. Because if we lose the ability to remember what was important to us, then we will lose the ability to avoid the mistakes of the past. So, if you have any questions about this, if you have any comments on it, if you think I'm full of hot wind, let me know. Comment and I'll get back to you. Do we have any comments, Jay?
Not at this time, sir.
Not at this time. Okay. Well, we'll have to we'll have to work on our engagement. But this is only a test, so I feel really good about this.
Cool.
And we're going to go to another break. Thank you once again for the sponsors. And you pay attention right now, because without them, nothing happens. Thanks very much. See you in a minute. Hey everybody, welcome back. I want to say thanks for your patience because we didn't actually have the ads on. Once again, I want to thank Mary Rhodes of the mortgage firm for being our first sponsor. I'm sure one of many which will come. We have come back and we are testing a piece of our equipment. And actually, when Jay said to me, who can we call to test this? Because we want the ability to do some remote interviews. Because ostensibly every now and then somebody may not be able to actually come to the studio. So we have, Jay has done some technical magic in his little wizarding world of TV production. And yes, that is a Harry Potter reference. I'm sorry, I only had 4 hours of sleep. Give me a break. So I have called my friend John C. Donahue. Those of you that are followers of mine from Cup of Joe know John. You've heard him. You've seen him. I reference him all the time. And as a matter of fact, John, this is John. Say hi, John.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Hey, thank you for being on. John, Jay and I were speaking earlier about champions. And the truth is, you are one of a short list of my champions. And,
that's praise indeed.
You know, a lot of people realize John is, outside of my wife, John is my best friend. You know, and I like to think that I'm his champion, you know.
Absolutely. Without a doubt, my friend.
Right. And so I defined a champion to Jay as the guy that'll always encourage you, but will tell you the truth, to help train you for the battle that you need to fight. And he's not the one you're fighting the battle with, but he might spar with you a little bit.
That's accurate.
John, why do we need champions in our life, man?
Well, champions are valuable. Champions are valuable for a number of reasons. One, if they're a quality person and you have allowed them to speak into your life, they will tell you all the things that you don't want to hear. And as difficult as that may seem, better to come from someone that cares about you and loves you than someone who doesn't, spoken behind your back. So they'll tell you what you need to know. They'll tell you what you need to hear. They will have your back no matter what. Even when you mess up, they'll come alongside you and help pick you up. And it'll make the sting of the mistake or the failure, it'll make it go away a little faster, because not only are they going to remind you who you are, how valuable you are to not only them, but to the world in general. They're going to remind you how valuable you are to yourself. And not only will they tell you what you need to know, not only will they pick you up when you are down, they will propel you forward much than anybody else in your sphere of influence. And that's what Joe's done for me, and that's what I try to do for Joe. We have those moments when we struggle. We have our down days, our low days, those days we don't even want to get out of bed. But when you have someone like a champion, like a Joe in your life, they will help you not only get out of bed, but start attacking the day. In maybe the smallest of ways or the biggest of ways, they are there to help lift you up. So if you've got somebody in your life that is providing that, don't begrudge them that they're telling you things that you don't want to hear. Because like I said, it's better to hear from them than somebody else speaking behind your back. And it's better to know going in than to be surprised. And when you fail, if you fail, it's better to have somebody there to pick you up. But it's always great to have someone behind you, pushing you forward, seeing things that you can't see, encouraging you to believe things that you might not believe about yourself, and just being your biggest cheerleader. And Joe, and I know it sounds like I'm blowing a lot of smoke, but it's the God's honest truth. Joe is that for me.
You know, John, thank you, John. I really appreciate that. You know, the truth is that John and I try to get together. We don't get as... one of the dangers of having a couple of guys who are champions for each other, you start getting better lives. And sometimes that means that you don't have the time to spend together. John and I came together when we were both in the beginning of trying to get some things done, and we were able to meet actually, and I lived further away. We were able to meet quite frequently and talk quite frequently on the phone. which is a key to a champion. You can't talk to a champion once every 6 or 7 months. At some point, you have to establish that regular relationship. The other thing that you can look for in a champion, you have to be careful who the champion is, because champions shouldn't just criticize you when you do something wrong. Okay, you don't want somebody who's blowing smoke up your dress. You want somebody who can say, well, I believe in you in this area because I see X, Y, Z. By the same token, they need to be able to look at you and say, I know that you love your wife and you respect her, but I don't think that you're showing that to people. And then be able to say, you told this joke, or you told that story, or you said this to her in public. They say, I know you don't want to be that guy, but you're being him. To be able to give you an example in your behavior, where do you see this? And my wife and I, we talk all the time, and my wife is one of my champions. Ideally, your spouse should be one of your main champions. They should not be your only champion, because there's just some things that you should be able to share with somebody else of the same sex in the same place you are in life. Because, your marriage will get tough if you bring them every single struggle, And I know that
my wife and I have a funny joke. Whenever we have days where we get sideways with each other, the first thing that both of us want to do is talk about it with our best friend. Well, the problem is we're each other's best friends. So it's hard for me to say, man, I got to tell you, my wife is just being the biggest pain, or I got to tell you, my husband is just being the biggest pain, and the biggest pain is on the other end of the phone. So it helps to have champions around you.
And that's actually a great example, because there have been times where John and I, while we don't criticize our wives, we struggle sometimes, just like anybody else's marriage, right? I mean, there's some struggle or some discussion we're having. And there have been times that both John and I have either said, no, you're probably right, but you need to approach, if you want peace in your house, you need to approach it this way. And then there have been other times when we've said to each other, hey man, you're wrong. You like totally blew that one, and yeah, you should feel like a piece of crap, but how do we make it better? And so that's the nature of a champion in your life. So I'm very proud to call John C. Donahue my champion. And I hope that he's I'm pretty sure he's proud to call me his. We have delusions of grandeur and dreams of great things to do. Unfortunately, our career paths have pulled us away time-wise from each other a little bit, but we're still working on that. So that's a work in progress.
Absolutely.
Now, let me say, since John was so gracious to do this for us, John is John C. Donahue, does a great number of things. Park Hoppers podcast, Park Hoppers live cast. He does Facebook Lives from the Disney parks. He and Sarah, his beautiful beloved wife, are great, not just fans but advocates, commentators, and just experts on what's going on in and around Disney. They're plugged into a community like that, and John is a life coach and does some other things with websites and social media. Talk about yourself a little bit, John.
Well, I'm awesome. No,
I agree.
I appreciate Joe bringing up the Disney stuff. If you are love Disney, it works and all. We understand Disney's Disney, but my wife and I do a weekly show on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find us at wdwparkhoppers.com. And like Joe said, I am a life coach. Now, the funny thing is, I started out being a life coach, just like a lot of coaches did, and then we found out that there were certain things that we were really good at and certain things that we weren't. And I've had a friend from way back in the day bring me in as a partner in his company, and he is a coach of coaches. So I'm learning a lot from him. But johncdonahue.com is where you can find me online. And we're getting ready to relaunch the coffee breaks, oddly enough, which is where Joe and I sort of met. And and that's going to be Facebook.com/John C. Donahue. And Joe, I'll be honest with you, I've got a little bit of a bone to pick. My coffee breaks have always been at 10:10 in the morning. Now I have this competitor coming up against me at 10 o'clock because I'm going to want to be watching that, and I'm supposed to be doing something else. I got to figure this out, but we'll relaunch it, in the next week, and it'll be pretty awesome. But I think it'll be a good lead-in to what you're doing. And finally, the last thing is I'm soon to be a very proud homeowner in South Lake County. I'm going to be moving in there in October. Very excited. So I will be an active member of the community, of which you are speaking to right now.
Guess who his realtor was?
Some dude I met on the internet.
Yeah, who wears a red shirt, right?
He does. He does wear a red shirt.
Almost too much.
No comment.
Well, thanks, John. We really appreciate you joining us, man. We're going to bring you back someday down the road where we can coordinate it, but we really appreciate the help. Because of you, we'll be better. Don't forget. Use your tagline. I love it. What do you say?
If nobody else tells you, I think you're awesome, and whatever you do today, choose to be awesome, because when you choose to be awesome, you truly will be.
Amen. Thank you, dude. And that's my friend John C. Donahue. I would like to say thank you once again to him, and we're going to go to a commercial break. No. I take it. I guess we're wrapping up. This is the end for today. Look, I want to say thank you for joining me. Obviously, we're a little rough, and this is why our official launch isn't until the 23rd of September. You can see us live. You can actually put in the Facebook a notification for when we do go live. You will always see it there. We'll try to share it always. But if you go on southlake.tv Facebook page and like it and follow it, you will get a direct notification when we go live.
And we're trying to get the 1,000 likes.
We are trying to get to 1,000 likes. Please go to the page. When we get to 1,000 likes, they'll allow us to have the live stream on, constantly running.
24/7, 365.
They changed their algorithm a few weeks ago, so that's where we're at. And once again, I'd like to thank Mary Rhodes of the mortgage firm for being my first sponsor. The first of, I'm sure, will be many. And tomorrow we'll be talking to Otis Taylor of the Give a Day Foundation. And Otis actually does something coordinating volunteers. And he's just a really awesome guy. And I'd like to see you on. So thank you very much. Oh, and Thursday, you got to keep in mind for Thursday on Homefront, I'm interviewing a fellow named Carl Norman from Trinity Enterprises. He is actually going to talk to us about repairing credit, real repairing credit, not the scam artist credit companies. This guy will actually help you get your credit score up so you can buy or rent a home, and the real way without damaging yourself over the long term. And I guess that's about it for today. I'd like to say thank you for joining us. This has been Joe Knows South Lake, and now you know South Lake. And I would like to remind you, there is greatness in all of us. And as John said, choose to be awesome. I say, dare to be great. Dare to let your greatness out. This has been Joe Knows South Lake, and I love you. Bye-bye.